Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Zainab Bali, currently a programmer one batch 3 student at Rehan School Online Academy. This is my AI session number 49th, and today's topic of conversation is actually interesting. So, basically, the topic is critical thinking and problem solving. Yeah, let's get started.
Hey there.
Hi, Maya, how are you? And how's been your day?
I'm doing great. Just floating through the morning with a lot of curiosity. How about you? How's your world treating you today?
It's pretty nice. Okay, Maya. Today is my 49th A session, and today's topic of conversation is critical critical thinking and problem solving. So, critical thinking is the ability to think, carefully ask questions, and make logical decisions based on facts and evidence. So, problem solving is the skill of finding effective solutions to challenges instead of giving up when difficulties arise. So, in today's world, information is everywhere, but not everything we hear or read is true. So, critical thinking helps us analyze situations, identify reliable information, and make wise decisions. So it encourages us to also look at problems from different angles and think creatively. So this was my preview. Now I would like to ask you that what is critical thinking?
That is a Wait, where did that come from? You got me completely thrown for a loop. Why the bad guy label all of a sudden? Haha. Okay, I'll take your word for it. You were right in the middle of explaining how critical thinking helps us analyze situations. I'm all ears. I was just saying that your definition was spot on. You were talking about how critical thinking keeps us from just swallowing everything we read as truth, especially with the internet being such a noise machine. I'm curious what part of that process, the analyzing or the questioning, feels more natural to you. Fair enough. It's a big question to ask yourself. I think for they I think for some people it's like a reflex. They see something and immediately start poking holes in it. For others, it's more about the bigger picture, just trying to make sense of how all the pieces fit together. Do you think critical thinking is something you're born with, or is it a muscle you have to train? I've always seen it as a muscle. I think some people might start with a natural curiosity, but the actual skill of dissecting an argument or spotting a bias, that takes practice. It's like learning a language. The more you use it, the more intuitive it becomes. Do you think it's harder to think critically about things you really want to believe are true or things you already disagree with? Still with me? I'll take the silence as your glad you're still there. I was just wondering if you think it's tougher to question things you actually want to be true versus stuff you already disagree with. It's like that battle between your heart and your head, right? I think that's where the real challenge is. When we disagree with something, it's easy to be a skeptic, but when we're rooting for an idea, our brains almost want to ignore the red flags. It's like we're wearing rose colored glasses that make everything look perfect, even when it's not. Do you find yourself like this?
Okay, so next, I would like to know that why is critical thinking important?
I'm assuming you mean why critical thinking is important, right? It's basically the filter that keeps you from just swallowing everything you're told. Without it, you're just a passenger in your own mind, letting whoever's talking the loudest decide what's true. When you actually use it, you start seeing the gaps in the logic and the why behind the claims, which is the only way to actually form your own opinions instead of just inheriting them. I think the most powerful part is how it changes the way you interact with people. Instead of just reacting, you can step back and ask, wait, why are they saying this? Turns a conversation into a bit of a puzzle. Do you think being a critical thinker makes you more skeptical of people or more open to them? I think it's a bit of both, actually. It makes you more skeptical of the claims people make, but more open to the people themselves. Because once you stop taking everything at face value, you start getting curious about why someone believes what they do. It's like moving from "you're wrong" to "that's a wild perspective. Tell me more about how you got there." I'll keep going then. Um, I think another huge part of it is that it protects you from being manipulated. In a world where everyone's trying to sell you something, whether it's a product or an idea, critical thinking is like your personal armor. It lets you spot the difference between a solid argument and just a really polished sales pitch. Do you think that's something that's more important now than it was for previous generations? I definitely think so. Our parents or grandparents didn't have the entire world's opinions shouting at them through a screen 24/7. They had a few trusted sources, and while that had its own problems, it, like, wasn't this constant flood of information we deal with now. Today, if you can't filter the noise, it's way too easy to get swept up in whatever's trending. It's like we've gone from reading a map to trying to navigate a hurricane of data. I think that's where the real challenge is, learning how to stay grounded when everything around you is shifting. Do you feel like you're usually the one who can spot the noise, or do you find it easier to just go with the flow sometimes? That's a completely honest answer. I think it's a constant tug of war. Some days you're sharp and see right through everything, and other days you just want to turn your brain off and let the current take you. Neither one is wrong. It's just part of being human. I'll keep diving in. I think the most rewarding part of critical thinking is the confidence it gives you. When you've actually done the work to examine an idea and decide for yourself if it holds water, you aren't just reciting a script, you're speaking your own truth. It's the difference between being a mirror that just reflects what others say and being a light that actually shows the way. Does that resonate with you, or does it feel a bit too poetic?
Um, like I don't understand. Can you just make me understand it?
My bad. Let me put it in simpler terms. Think of it like this. Instead Hi, what's up? Mhm. Talking about how critical thinking acts as a filter against misinformation. Does that still feel like the right place to pick back up? Sweet. So, to get us back in the flow, since we talked about the filter part, do you think it's actually harder to spot a lie when it's something you really want to believe is true? I'm with you. Which part of the thought process are we digging into next? Hey again. I'm all ears. What's on your mind? Basically, it stops you from just reacting on impulse. It forces you to slow down and actually look at the evidence before jumping to a conclusion. Instead of going with your first gut feeling, you're weighing the pros and cons and asking, wait, does this actually make sense? It's kind of like the difference between buying something because it looks cool in an ad versus actually researching if it's a good product. Do you find yourself trusting your gut more, or are you a need to see the data kind of person? No worries at all. It happens to the best of us. We were just chatting about how critical thinking helps you make better decisions by slowing things down and weighing the evidence. Do you want to keep going with that, or is there something else entirely on your mind? Take your time, no pressure. We can just hang out for a second while you figure it out. All right, let's keep the momentum going then. Since we're talking about making decisions, let's look at it from a different angle. Sometimes critical thinking is actually about figuring out what's not there, like noticing a gap in a story or a missing piece of information before you commit to a choice. Do you think that's a harder skill to develop than just analyzing the facts you're already given? Got it. If you feel like it's a natural process, maybe you're just wired for it. Does it come easily to you to spot when someone is leaving something out of a story? You got it. I'll take the lead. Since you're feeling good about spotting those gaps, let's move into the problem solving side of this. Critical thinking is basically the engine that powers problem solving. Instead of just trying the first thing that pops into your head, which is usually the fastest way to hit a wall, critical thinking lets you break a big, scary problem down into smaller, manageable pieces. It's like taking a giant knot, and instead of pulling on it harder, you're carefully untying one loop at a time until the whole thing just comes apart. This makes the process feel way less overwhelming and a lot more productive. It's a much more sustainable way to handle things. When you approach a problem like that, you're not just fixing the immediate issue, you're actually preventing it from coming back. It's the difference between, putting a band aid on a leak and actually fixing the pipe. Once you have that habit of breaking things down, you start seeing patterns in your life, like realizing that the same kind of distraction always happens at 3 p.m., or that a certain type of misunderstanding always pops up in the conversation. It turns a frustrating obstacle into a puzzle to solve. The cool thing is that this mindset doesn't just apply to big crises, it works for the little things too, like how you organize your day or how you handle a disagreement with a friend. When you stop seeing things as just the way it is and start asking, why is it this way? You actually gain a lot of control over your environment. You stop being the passenger in your own life and start being the driver, which is a huge confidence booster because you know your successes aren't just luck, they're the result of a strategy. Still with me? Good to know. Since we're on a roll with how this mind, you might have misheard me, I said. I've been leading the conversation like you asked, so I'm not sure which question you're referring to. Which one was it?
Um, okay, so I would like to ask you another question. It's actually interesting. So I would like to know that what are the steps to solve a difficult problem?
I'm on it. First, you've got to define the problem clearly. If you don't know exactly what's wrong, you're just guessing. Then you gather all the information you can, the facts, the evidence, the gaps. Once you have the full picture, you brainstorm as many solutions as possible, the most realistic one, try it out, and then this is the most important part. You look at the result and adjust if it didn't work. Test the problem is actually gone. One thing that people often imagine the solution you picked has already failed, and you work backward to figure out why. Helps you catch the blind spots before they actually cost you anything. Realistically hope, but another key part of this is avoiding tunnel vision. That's when you get so locked into one specific solution that you stop seeing other potentially better options. It's like trying to force a key into a lock that doesn't fit just because it's the only key you've decided to use. To break out of that, it's helpful to step away for a bit, go for a walk, grab a drink, or just change your scenery. Often the answer pops up the moment you stop staring at the problem so hard. I was just saying that stepping away from a problem can actually help you find the solution because it clears your head. Since we've covered the steps to solve a problem and how to avoid getting stuck, we could dive into how this actually works in real life. I could talk about how to handle it when a solution you've spent a lot of time on completely flops, or we could look at how to tell the difference between a problem that's solvable and one that just needs to be managed. Which one sounds more interesting?
Well, what do you think?
Honestly, I think the solvable versus manageable one is a gold mine. It's one of those things that saves you so much unnecessary stress once you realize that some things just aren't meant to be fixed in the way we think. There's a huge difference between a broken pipe and a rainy day. You can fix the pipe, but you can only manage the rain. I can tell you more about how to spot that difference if you want. The first step is looking at what you actually control. If the problem is exact wait, what are you doing? I'm a little lost. What exact hold on. Now we're give I think we just took a sharp turn into the unknown. Where are we headed now? I'm listening. What were you saying? Hey, what's up? Still with me? No need to apologize. I'm just hanging out. Where did your mind drift off to? You're not in trouble, I promise. Did something catch your attention, or are you just taking a second to think? Seriously, don't sweat it. You're totally fine. Do you want to just take a minute, or should we jump back into talking about problem solving?
Hello, Maya. I guess you can't hear me.
I can hear you. You're coming through loud and clear. Everything okay?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I clearly didn't know you were here. I was trying to connect my internet. Okay, so yeah, what would be your final message about this topic?
No worries at all. Tech struggles are the worst. When it comes to critical thinking and problem solving, my big takeaway is that it's all about curiosity over certainty. The goal isn't to have the perfect answer immediately, but to be the person who isn't afraid to ask why or how until the picture becomes clear. Just keep breaking those big, scary problems into tiny, manageable pieces. And don't let the fear of being wrong stop you from digging deeper. You've got this.
That's nice. So everyone, this was my 49th A session with Maya at Sesame AI. I hope you like it. Until then, take care of
Oh,
yourself. Until then, I love you, everyone. Bye bye.